I need to get this off my chest because I feel like I'm going crazy. I 22M have been dating Claire 25F for about 14 months now. We met at my best friend Jake's birthday party. Jake 23M had invited a bunch of people from his workplace, and Claire was there with some of her friends. I remember the moment I first saw her. She was sitting in the corner with her laptop, playing Valorant while everyone else was dancing and drinking. I'm a huge gamer myself, so I went over to talk to her. We hit it off immediately. Claire was different from any girl I had dated before. She was outgoing, smart, and shared all my interests. We spent the entire party talking about games, our favorite streamers, and everything else under the sun. By the end of the night, we had exchanged numbers and added each other on all gaming platforms. The next few days were like a dream. We played Valorant together every night, talking for hours over Discord. Within 2 weeks, we were officially dating. The first few months were perfect. We would spend weekends at each other's places, having gaming marathons and ordering takeout. She introduced me to her friend circle, which was mostly guys. I noticed this but didn't think much of it at the time. She explained that being a female gamer, she naturally ended up having more male friends. It made sense, and I didn't want to be that insecure boyfriend who controls who his girlfriend can be friends with. Everything changed when she got a job offer from a tech company in another city, about 4 hours away. The salary was amazing, and it was a great opportunity for her career. We discussed it for weeks and finally decided to try long distance. I had a good job here, and we thought we could make it work with regular visits and our daily gaming sessions. The first red flag appeared about 2 weeks after she moved. She had told me she found a nice studio apartment and sent me pictures of it. One day, while watching her Instagram stories, I noticed something odd. In the background of one of her stories, I could hear male voices talking and laughing. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off saying some colleagues had come over to work on a project. But the voices kept appearing in her stories. Finally, through some social media digging, I discovered the truth. She was actually living with 2 guys from her college, Mark 26M and Dave 24M. When I confronted her, she got defensive. She said she didn't tell me because she knew I would overreact, and that living alone in a new city was expensive. She made me feel like I was being unreasonable for being upset about her lying. I tried to move past this, but then came the situation with her ex, Tom 27M. Claire had mentioned that Tom worked at her new company, but assured me they barely saw each other. One evening, I was on a call with Jake, who had visited the same city for work. He casually mentioned seeing Claire and Tom having dinner at a fancy restaurant. When I asked Claire about it, she said it was a team dinner. But Jake had seen them alone. This led to more digging, and I discovered they had been meeting regularly outside work. Sometimes in groups, but often just the 2 of them. She had hidden all these meetings from me. When confronted, she got angry and said I was being paranoid and that she was allowed to be friends with her ex. The final straw was Kevin 25M, a guy from her new office. At first, I didn't think much of him. He would comment on her Instagram posts, but so did many others. Then I started noticing a pattern. His comments were always flirty, with lots of heart emojis and inside jokes I didn't understand. She would respond to his comments with similar energy. One day, Jake came to me with some concerning information. One of his friends who works at Claire's company told him that Kevin had openly admitted to having feelings for Claire at an office party. Apparently, he had told everyone that he was just waiting for her to break up with her long-distance boyfriend. I brought this up with Claire 2 months ago. She initially acted surprised and said she had no idea Kevin felt that way. She promised to distance herself from him and remove him from her social media. I thought the matter was resolved, but I was wrong. Yesterday morning, while checking her recent posts, I noticed Kevin was still actively commenting. She hadn't removed him, she had just hidden his comments from me. When I confronted her, she exploded. She said I was being controlling and that she was tired of me telling her who she could be friends with. We had a huge fight over text. Later that day, she had a dental appointment. Despite our fight, I texted to check if she was okay because I knew she was nervous about it. She replied with a cold yes and ignored my follow-up messages. In the evening, wanting to patch things up, I opened Valorant hoping to play with her. That's when I saw she was already in a game, with Kevin and 3 other guys from her office. She was playing and laughing with the very person we had just fought about hours ago. I waited until her game ended and called her. Instead of acknowledging how disrespectful this was, she turned the tables on me. She said I was suffocating her with my jealousy and that she was allowed to have male friends. When I pointed out that this wasn't about male friends but about a specific guy who had romantic intentions towards her, she dismissed my concerns. Finally, fed up with the constant lies and disrespect, I gave her an ultimatum: either block Kevin completely or we need to rethink our relationship. Her response left me speechless. She said if she blocks him, she would hate me forever and never speak to me again. She brought up that I had asked her to remove Tom from her social media a few days ago, and she had refused that too, saying I couldn't dictate her social media presence. Now she's acting like nothing happened. Since morning, She's been sending me memes and asking when we're going to play Valorant again. I haven't responded yet. I feel lost and confused. Everyone can see these red flags, the lying about her living situation, secretly meeting her ex, refusing to set boundaries with a guy who openly likes her. But part of me still loves her and wants to believe she'll change. Am I being unreasonable here? Should I give her another chance? Or is it time to accept that this relationship isn't what I thought it was? Update 1. I want to thank everyone who commented on my last post. Your support and advice really helped me see things clearly. A lot has happened in these 2 weeks, and I need to share it all. After reading all your comments, I realized I needed to have a serious face-to-face conversation with Claire. Phone calls and texts weren't cutting it anymore. I had a day off work last Friday, so I decided to drive to her city. I didn't tell her I was coming because I wanted to catch her in her normal routine, not in a prepared state where she could hide things. The drive was long and gave me time to think. I rehearsed what I wanted to say, prepared myself for different scenarios, and tried to stay calm. I reached her apartment building around 7 p.m. I recognized her car in the parking lot, but she wasn't answering her phone. I called 3 times and sent multiple texts, but got no response. According to her Instagram story from an hour ago, she was home, supposedly working late on an urgent project. After waiting in my car for about an hour, getting increasingly worried and frustrated, I decided to go up to her apartment. As I approached her floor, I could hear music and laughter. Not the kind of atmosphere you'd expect from someone working on an urgent project. I stood outside her door for a few minutes, my heart pounding. I could hear multiple voices inside, including Claire's distinctive laugh. When I finally knocked, the music suddenly stopped. After a moment, Mark opened the door. The look on his face when he saw me was priceless, a mix of surprise and what I now recognize as guilt. The scene inside the apartment was like a punch to the gut. Claire was sitting on the couch with Kevin, both holding Nintendo Switch controllers. Mario Kart was paused on the TV screen. Empty pizza boxes and beer cans were scattered around. She jumped up when she saw me, looking terrified. Kevin just sat there, trying to act casual but clearly uncomfortable. Claire started rambling immediately, saying she had finished work early and Kevin had just stopped by. But the scene told a different story. This wasn't a casual drop-by. The pizza boxes were from a place they deliver from only if you order at least 2 hours in advance. I know because we used to order from there when I visited. The confrontation that followed was messy. Claire started yelling about how I was stalking her by showing up unannounced. She said I was controlling and that she was allowed to have friends over. Kevin tried to play it cool, saying they were just hanging out as colleagues, but he couldn't even look me in the eye. That's when something unexpected happened. Mark, who had been standing quietly by the door, asked to speak with me privately. We stepped into the hallway, and what he told me changed everything. According to him, this wasn't a one-time thing. Claire and Kevin had been spending almost every evening together for the past month. They would play games, order food, and sometimes other friends would join, but it was mostly just the two of them. Mark seemed genuinely troubled as he spoke. He said he had overheard several conversations between Claire and Kevin late at night, talking about their feelings for each other. He had been feeling guilty about keeping this from me, especially since I had always been nice to him when I visited. Armed with this information, I went back inside. The atmosphere had changed. Claire must have sensed something was wrong from how long Mark and I had talked. When I confronted her with what Mark had told me, she broke down. Through tears, she admitted that she and Kevin had kissed at an office party 2 weeks ago. She claimed it was just once and that she was drunk, but then she said something that broke my heart. She was developing feelings for him. She tried to explain herself, saying she was confused and lonely, that the long distance was harder than she expected. She said she still loved me but didn't know what she wanted anymore. Kevin just sat there silently, looking at the floor. I couldn't stay there any longer. I walked out, ignoring Claire's calls for me to come back and talk. The drive home was a blur. I'm still not sure how I made it back safely. The past 2 weeks have been absolute hell. Claire has been calling and texting constantly. Sometimes she's apologetic, saying she made a huge mistake and wants to work things out. Other times she's defensive, saying I drove her to this with my jealousy and controlling behavior. She even got her friends to message me, telling me I'm overreacting and that it was just one drunken kiss. Kevin had the nerve to send me a message on Instagram, a long paragraph about how sorry he was and how he never meant for things to go this far. But something in his message caught my attention. He mentioned things about that office party that didn't match Claire's version. According to him, the party was just an excuse. They had been growing closer for weeks before that. I haven't blocked either of them yet. I know I probably should, but part of me wants to see how many more lies they'll tell. Their stories keep changing with each message, and none of them add up. Claire says it was just one kiss, Kevin implies it was more, and now I'm starting to wonder what else they're hiding. Jake thinks I should just cut all contact and move on, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to this story. Mark has been messaging me too, saying he has more to tell me but wants to do it in person. I'm planning to drive back there next weekend to hear him out. I'll update again after I talk to him. I know I should probably just walk away now, but after 14 months together, I feel like I deserve to know the full truth. Even if it hurts more. Update 2: Things have gotten so much worse since my last update. The truth finally came out, and it's more twisted than I could have imagined. Remember how I mentioned that Claire's stories about the office party didn't match Kevin's version? Well, now I know why. Last week, Dave, Claire's other roommate, reached out to me through Jake. He said he had been wrestling with his conscience ever since he saw my last update on Reddit. One of his friends had shown him my post, and he immediately knew it was about Claire. He asked to meet me in person, saying there were things I needed to know. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our cities. Dave looked nervous and uncomfortable, nothing like the cheerful guy I remembered from my visits to their apartment. He started by apologizing for not telling me sooner, saying he had promised Claire he wouldn't get involved. But after seeing how she was trying to manipulate the situation and paint herself as the victim, he couldn't stay quiet anymore. According to Dave, Claire and Kevin's relationship didn't start with a drunken kiss at an office party. They had been secretly dating for almost 2 months, starting just a few weeks after she moved to the city. All those late work nights and gaming sessions were covers for their dates. They would often go out to dinner while telling me she was working late, or hang out at the apartment when they knew I would be busy with my evening shifts. But here's where it gets even more messed up. Remember Tom, her ex who she kept meeting? Dave revealed that Claire was still involved with him too. The three of us, me, Kevin, and Tom, had no idea about each other. The apartment situation wasn't just a coincidence either. She had specifically chosen to live with Mark and Dave because they were friends with Tom from college and could help cover for her when she was with him. Dave showed me text messages where Claire had asked him and Mark to lie for her if I ever asked questions. She had different stories prepared for different scenarios. If I showed up unexpectedly, they were supposed to say she was working late. If I asked about Tom, they were supposed to say they were all hanging out as a group. The real kicker came when Dave revealed why he finally decided to tell me everything. Last week, he overheard Claire on the phone with another guy, someone neither of us knew about. She was using the same sweet voice and pet name she used with me. Dave said that was when he realized she wasn't just confused or making mistakes, she was deliberately playing with multiple people's feelings. I confronted Claire with all this information. I expected her to deny it or have more excuses ready, but surprisingly, she broke down and confirmed everything. She tried to justify it by saying she had commitment issues stemming from her parents' divorce. She said she felt pressured by the long distance and didn't want to lose any of us. She even tried to blame it on Mark and Dave, saying they should have stopped her or told us sooner. Kevin and Tom didn't know about each other either. Dave had already told them everything before meeting me. Tom apparently went ballistic when he found out, especially since he had been thinking about getting back together with Claire seriously. Kevin just disappeared, deleted all his social media and requested a transfer to a different office location. Claire's carefully constructed house of lies came crashing down in a single day. She lost her boyfriend, her ex, her affair partner, and her roommates all at once. Mark and Dave are moving out next week. They said they can't live with someone who manipulated everyone around her. The worst part? She still doesn't seem to understand what she did wrong. In her mind, she was just trying to make everyone happy. She sent me a long message saying that out of everyone, she loved me the most and that's why she kept me around the longest. As if that was supposed to make me feel better. I'm still processing everything. Jake has been amazing through all this, letting me crash at his place when I don't want to be alone. Our other friends have been supportive too, especially after hearing the full story. Some of them had suspected something was off about Claire's behavior but didn't want to get involved. I'm planning to schedule a therapy session next week. Not because I'm broken or can't handle this, but because I want to make sure I process this properly and don't carry trust issues into my future relationships. For now, I've blocked Claire on everything. I don't want to hear any more of her excuses or justifications. I'll update again if anything significant happens, but I think this chapter of my life is finally coming to a close. Update 3: It's been 3 months since everything blew up, and I finally feel ready to write this final update. A lot has changed, and I want to share how things turned out. After my last update, the situation with Claire got even messier before it finally ended. When both Tom and Kevin cut contact with her, she went into full panic mode. She showed up at my workplace one afternoon, crying and causing a scene. My coworkers had to call security to escort her out. She kept saying she had changed and that losing everyone had made her realize her mistakes. Mark and Dave followed through with their plan to move out. They found a new place within 2 weeks and left Claire with an apartment she couldn't afford on her own. That's when she really started spiraling. She made multiple social media accounts to try to contact me after I blocked her main ones. She even tried to join the Discord servers where I play Valorant, but thankfully the moderators banned her when I explained the situation. The real shock came when she showed up at Jake's apartment one night, completely drunk. She knew I had been staying there occasionally and thought she might find me. Jake recorded the whole interaction on his phone. She was rambling about how she had made mistakes but that I was partly to blame for being too controlling. She said if I had been more understanding about her male friends, she wouldn't have had to lie. Jake showed me the video the next day, and it just confirmed that I had made the right decision in cutting her off. Claire eventually had to move back to her parents' house because she couldn't keep up with the rent alone. She made this long, dramatic post on Facebook about how she had hit rock bottom and was working on herself. She talked about how she had lost the love of her life, me, because of her poor choices, and how she was going to therapy to deal with her commitment issues. The post got a lot of sympathy comments from people who didn't know the whole story, but those who knew the truth either unfollowed her or called her out. As for me, I'm doing much better now. I got a promotion at work that I had been working towards for months. The project I was leading was a success, and my boss specifically mentioned how impressed he was with my focus and dedication during what he knew was a difficult personal time. I've also started gaming with a new group. Jake introduced me to his cousins who are really into Valorant, and we've been playing together regularly. It's nice to be able to enjoy the game again without all the bad memories. I even ranked up to Diamond, something I had been stuck on for months. Mark and Dave still keep in touch. They send me updates about Claire occasionally, not because I ask, but because they want to warn me if she's planning something. Last they heard, she had tried to get back with Tom again, but he shut her down immediately. The whole experience taught me a lot about self-respect and recognizing red flags. Sometimes people ask if I regret not seeing the signs earlier, but I don't beat myself up about it. You can't spot patterns you've never seen before. What matters is how you act once you do see them. I thought about trying dating apps recently, but I decided to give myself more time. I'm enjoying focusing on my career, my friends, and my hobbies without having to worry about someone lying to me or manipulating me. I know this isn't the dramatic ending some of you might have expected, no epic confrontations or grand acts of revenge. But sometimes the best revenge is just moving forward and being happy. Claire lost everything because of her own actions, and I gained a better understanding of what I want in a relationship and what I won't tolerate. That's it for updates from me. Thanks to everyone who supported me through this journey. Time to close this chapter and move on to better things.